Do you ever feel like people walk all over you? Maybe they talk down to you, ignore your opinions, or make you feel like you don't matter. It's a terrible feeling, being around people who don't seem to value or respect you. And while it's easy to say, just walk away from them, the reality is, it's not always that simple, especially when this kind of treatment starts to feel like a pattern in your life. But here's the good news. You don't have to change who you are to earn respect. You just need to start respecting yourself more, and that starts from within. So let's talk about how to do that, starting with step 1. First up, respect yourself before expecting it from others. That might sound obvious, but it's something a lot of us forget to do. We're often our own worst critics, letting self-doubt and harsh thoughts take over. But practicing self-respect can change that. It's about choosing to be kind to yourself, even when your inner voice isn't. When you respect yourself, you start to expect more from the people around you, and they'll start treating you differently too. Psychologist Herbert Lefcourt talked about something called an internal locus of control. It's the belief that you have power over your own life, that your actions, your choices, and even your mistakes shape your experiences. People who believe this tend to have better mental health. Why? Because they feel in control. So, if you want to build respect, both from yourself and others, take ownership of your life. That means learning to say no without guilt. It means standing up for what matters to you. Don't feel bad about protecting your time, your boundaries, or your happiness. Think of it this way. If you pay for 2 scoops of ice cream and only get 1, do you just shrug and walk away? Of course not. You ask for the second scoop you paid for. That's not being rude. That's valuing yourself enough to speak up. And yes, even something as simple as ice cream can teach us a lesson about self-respect. You deserve that extra scoop. You deserve to enjoy things that make you happy. And you deserve to say, "This is important to me," without feeling like you need to justify it to anyone. Because at the end of the day, you're allowed to create your own joy. You don't need to rely on others to hand it to you. Respect starts when you give yourself permission to take up space, to say no, and to treat yourself like someone who matters, because you absolutely do. Next, let's talk about boundaries, because that's our second step. Set clear, firm boundaries. People can't respect your limits if you never make them known. It's not about being aggressive or putting up walls. It's about creating healthy expectations in your relationships. Without boundaries, you're leaving the door wide open for others to unintentionally, or sometimes intentionally, take advantage of your kindness. Picture this. Your friend comes over for movie night. You love hanging out, but they always bring their dog, which has fleas. They eat nearly all your snacks, leave cheesy fingerprints on the couch, and treat your home like a free-for-all. You care about them, sure, but do they really respect you? Not exactly. And the longer you let it slide, the more they'll think it's okay. Setting boundaries doesn't mean turning into a drill sergeant. It's about being honest, respectful, and confident in your communication. You can say things like, "Hey, let's keep the snacks off the couch," or "Would you mind leaving the dog at home next time?" You're not being rude. You're protecting your space and your peace of mind. And the people who truly care about you will understand and adjust. Your home, your rules. That's not just a saying, it's a standard. And once you start standing up for your space, you'll notice something shift. People begin to treat you with more care and consideration because they recognize you won't tolerate anything less. The same principle applies beyond your living room. Whether it's a coworker constantly dropping extra work on your desk, a family member making passive-aggressive comments, or a friend who always oversteps, you have every right to speak up. You don't have to accept behavior that makes you feel small or overlooked. Boundaries are also a form of self-respect. They tell the world, "I know what I need, and I'm not afraid to ask for it." That's powerful. And it doesn't mean you stop being kind or generous. It just means your kindness isn't unlimited. It's measured, thoughtful, and backed by self-worth. So next time someone crosses a line, pause and ask yourself, "Do I feel comfortable with this?" If the answer is no, then it's okay to say something. You don't need to explain, apologize, or soften the truth just to avoid discomfort. In fact, the more direct and calm you are, the clearer your message becomes. Because respect starts with clarity, and boundaries are how you draw the line between being kind and being taken for granted. Now let's move on to something many of us struggle with. You don't have to be nice all the time. Yeah, that might sound strange, especially if you're someone who prides themselves on being kind and considerate. But here's the thing, there's a big difference between being kind and being a people pleaser. And the latter can quietly erode your self-respect. You don't have to say yes to every favor. You don't have to attend every hangout. And you definitely don't need to force a smile when you're feeling off. If you constantly put others ahead of yourself out of guilt or fear they won't like you, then your kindness is no longer coming from a healthy place. It's coming from obligation. That's when resentment starts to build, and you end up feeling exhausted and unappreciated. Think about a time when you turned down plans because, honestly, you just needed some time alone. Maybe you were finally relaxing in a bubble bath, or curled up in bed with a book. You were content, but then a friend texted, and you felt that familiar pull of guilt. What if they think I'm being selfish? What if they get mad? So you drag yourself out and pretend to enjoy it, when deep down, you just needed a break. That's exactly where setting emotional boundaries comes in. You're not saying no to people, you're saying yes to your own needs. And guess what? That's perfectly okay. In fact, it's necessary. When you allow yourself to rest, to feel what you feel, and to say no without an apology, you're honoring your well-being. And that's something people ultimately respect, even if they don't always show it right away. Even small habits, like forcing yourself to smile when you're having a rough day, can chip away at your authenticity. Yes, smiling can lift your mood, but forcing it when you're upset can feel fake, and it teaches you to suppress your real emotions just to make others comfortable. Let yourself be human. You don't have to perform for anyone. If you're having a bad day, it's okay to say, "I'm not feeling great today." No excuses, no sugarcoating. The bottom line? Being nice is a choice, not a requirement. You don't owe everyone your energy, your time, or your emotional bandwidth. Save those things for the moments and people who truly matter. And when you do say yes, make sure it's a full-hearted yes, not one wrapped in guilt or fear. Let's talk about the power of speaking up, because that's step 4. Find your voice and use it. A lot of us are naturally quiet, maybe even a bit shy, and there's nothing wrong with that. But being soft-spoken doesn't mean you have to stay silent, especially when others start talking over you or ignoring what you have to say. Have you ever been in a group conversation and felt like your words just vanished into thin air? You try to speak, but someone interrupts. Or you make a point, and no one acknowledges it until someone else repeats it louder. It's frustrating, and over time, it can make you feel invisible. But here's the thing. Being heard isn't about being the loudest person in the room. It's about being intentional and assertive in your communication. One simple trick? Say the person's name while you're speaking to them. It might sound small, but it makes a big difference. Think about it. Whenever you hear your own name in a conversation, your attention snaps back, right? It's a natural response. Using someone's name helps bring their focus to you. Another helpful tactic: use hand gestures when you talk. It may feel awkward at first, but using your hands helps emphasize your words and keep people engaged. It's a visual cue that says, "Hey, I'm speaking, listen up." Combine that with steady eye contact, and your message suddenly carries more weight. Just be sure to spread the eye contact evenly. No need for an intense stare down. Just make everyone feel included. These little techniques don't just make you more visible, they also build your confidence over time. And confidence is contagious. When you carry yourself like your words matter, other people start to believe it too. But don't just wait for the right moment to speak. Create the moment. If someone interrupts you, politely but firmly bring the focus back. "Hold on, I wasn't finished." You're not being rude. You're reclaiming your space. Your thoughts are just as valid as anyone else's, and you have every right to share them. Speaking up also means not shying away from difficult topics. If something bothers you, don't let it fester. Talk about it. Share your perspective calmly and clearly. You're not starting drama. You're setting a standard that your voice deserves to be heard. Because the truth is, silence can be misunderstood. If you don't speak up, people might assume you're okay with being overlooked. But when you start expressing yourself clearly, confidently, and kindly, people take notice. And more importantly, they start treating you with the respect you've always deserved. Let's wrap it up with 2 final points that tie everything together. Stop over apologizing and let your body do the talking with confidence. You might not even notice how often you say sorry. It can become so automatic. You're apologizing for things that aren't even your fault, or things that don't need an apology at all. You're running a little late. Sorry. Someone bumps into you. Sorry. You disagree with someone. Sorry. But here's the problem. If you say it too much, people stop taking it seriously. And worse, they may start seeing you as someone who's willing to take the blame, even when it's not yours to carry. Words have power, and apologies are no exception. When you apologize too often, you weaken the impact of the times it truly matters. So instead of saying sorry every time you feel a little discomfort, try switching it up. If someone asks for a favor you can't do, just say, "I won't be able to, but I hope it works out." No apology needed. If you disagree with someone, you can say, "That's an interesting point. Here's how I see it." You're still being respectful without giving away your power. Of course, apologize when it counts. If you make a mistake, own it. If you hurt someone, say you're sorry. But don't hand out apologies like candy just to avoid tension. Respecting yourself means knowing when to say sorry and when to stand firm. And now, let's talk body language. Because whether you realize it or not, your posture, your movements, and your facial expressions all send messages. If you want to be respected, you've got to look like someone who respects themselves. That doesn't mean you have to strut around like a superhero, but small shifts can make a big impact. Start with posture. Stand tall, shoulders back, and head up. When you walk into a room, don't shrink. Take your space. Make eye contact when you talk and when you listen. Keep your arms relaxed at your sides instead of crossing them tightly across your chest, which can come off as closed off or defensive. And remember those hand gestures? Keep using them. They add energy and clarity to your words. Observing others and staying present in social situations also helps you adjust naturally. The more comfortable you feel in your skin, the more others pick up on that vibe. People respond to what you project, so if you project confidence and calm, you'll draw that energy back in return. You don't have to pretend to be someone you're not. You just have to treat yourself like someone who deserves respect and carry yourself like it, because you do. So now it's your turn. Have you ever found yourself over-apologizing or hiding your true thoughts just to keep the peace? Which of these strategies will you try first? Let us know in the comments. We'd love to hear your story. And if this helped you, share it with someone who might need to hear it too. Don't forget to subscribe for more insights from the aesthetic mind. Thanks for watching.